Hello and welcome to your GG replay for June 16th, 2021. This is our Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast where we go through the latest in gaming news and break it all down for you. Hosted, as always, by the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for goofs. Still kind of workshopping that. We'll see. I am Paul, and as always, I am joined here by Matt. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. That shirt that you got on there, it's very Dexter Morgan of you.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that.
Did you watch Dexter? Have you seen?
I didn't really watch
Okay.
Dexter, but I really appreciate that. You know what? I'm looking at it right now. He did wear shirts like this a
He
lot.
did.
I feel
That
like
was his
yeah,
that was his kill
as
shirt.
you can see. Oh, really? He wore like a Henley shirt for his kill
Yeah, that
shirt
was his kill shirt.
oh, every time. Oh,
It was like
spoilers
the
for
same
Dexter.
outfit.
Spoilers for Dexter. He was a killer.
It's
He killed
coming
people.
back, by the way. The show.
I know. I
Like,
heard that.
it's like a mini season or a one season thing? I don't really know, but it's coming
Everyone's doing that now. They're like coming back for a mini season just to see if people are still interested, and then if they are, we'll
Reunion.
make more every couple of years. Yes. So big news this week. Insanely big news.
Yeah,
We recorded our
massive.
last podcast just before the Microsoft and the Square Enix events, mainly Microsoft and Bethesda, of course. And now we're here to break it all down for you. Start it off. Doesn't matter. Anything else pales in comparison to talking about Starfield, because everyone's really excited about Starfield. And we sure got a trailer about Starfield. And we got a release date for Starfield, November 11th, 2022, 11 years to the day of Skyrim coming out. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. What do you think, Matt? I mean, I like a Bethesda game as much as the rest of us. But that being said, a cinematic trailer for a game that is now coming out like in a year and a half, just didn't get me jazzed.
The release date was the most shocking part. I mean,
Yeah.
a Bethesda announcement game will not. I guess it was in-engine footage, it said, but it's a
Yes.
cinematic trailer. But yeah, Bethesda usually doesn't do this. I guess this is, partly the Microsoft effect. But the trailer was beautiful.
Yeah.
The music was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the general like feel that they're going for, the general vibe. I think I saw Todd Howard describe it as NASA punk, which is
Yeah.
really
That is
cool. I love that, but I'm not like the biggest fan of Bethesda games. I'll enjoy them, but I'm not the biggest fan of them. I know there are like people out there who like those are their favorite games.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm now looking more forward to it than I was before. Not that like
So this hyped you.
yeah,
The trailer.
it hyped me a little bit. I'm keeping my hype in check for sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But this actually made you more interested
But
in
yeah,
the game,
the
which is
music and the general vibe. And what's crazy is, as you know, I'm not like a big like space-based sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
I'm not like big into that. But yeah, the whole NASA punk theme,
Yeah.
the music, it just really it got me excited for it. And honestly, the news, maybe this is the most exciting part. The news that it's going to be the first Bethesda game using Creation Engine 2. That's exciting.
That's a big deal. I mean, it's still Creation Engine at all. It's still a Bethesda engine, so we can't get too excited. But that being said, I have high hopes that it will at least finally look as good as an Xbox One or PS4 game could possibly look, even though it's going to be on the next generation.
Did it say
But
this is an oversight on my part, but did it say that it would be coming out for the previous generation?
I also don't know.
They might not even. Well, it's first off, it's an Xbox exclusive. So is it coming?
Yes. So yeah.
Do all
So
the
is it
games
gonna
come
be
to
on?
Xbox One?
I don't think so. In fact, I saw a lot of stuff announced here that said Xbox Series X and S, and it did
Okay.
not say Xbox One on it. So I don't know. I think they might not be doing that.
Okay. It's coming to PC
So
though.
yeah,
I'm sure.
which is
right?
big,
So,
of course.
So
Yeah.
I'll have that at least. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if
exactly.
I'll have an Xbox at this point or not, but
I think I'll probably have purchased a Series S at least by that point, but we'll see.
I
Even
need
if
I need
only
some
for
use out of my
experience.
PS5 first.
That's true. That's very true. But this is not the day for that, Matt. This is the day for Microsoft.
Was it
Yeah. So
real quick before we move
yeah.
on? What was bigger, this or Elden Ring?
I think this. I think Elden Ring's still kind of genre niche. Like I think there's still it's got like rabid fans who are into. I mean, I think a lot of people love Soulsborne games, but I think there's just something about the casual capture that you get from just like a
Right.
Bethesda game. Like look at stuff like Fallout 4. Like people who barely play video games played Fallout 4. I think, and I think there's more. There might be more capture from that. I don't know. I think they're both pretty popular. This might be only because we've been waiting even longer. Uh,
I think if we had
and
gotten gameplay, I would say Starfield. I think if
me
the
too.
release date was this November instead of next November, I would say Starfield. But I think
Oh yeah.
I still feel like Elden Ring so far is like the thing of E3, like the
I
biggest
think they
story
had a
of
more
E3.
impressive showing at E3. I guess I thought you meant like more like what are people more excited for in
I
general?
gotcha.
And I think it
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
Starfield,
yeah. I know.
but
I
who
agree
did
with
a
that.
better job showcasing what they were trying to showcase? Easily Elden
As
Ring. I
far
think
as
that was the
like
best.
game of show, I think
It's
it's
like
still
yeah,
Elden Ring.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like something we've been waiting for an insanely long time, and they came out and they're like, "Here it is." I think Elden Ring. I think Starfield kind of went came out and they were like, "Here is what it will feel like." And
Right.
it's like, no, but what is the game though? What is it gonna look like?
What did you think
Um,
about Microsoft opening their conference with Todd Howard? Do you think that was like a power
uh,
move?
I thought that was really weird. I was really expecting Phil Spencer. Did we see Phil Spencer?
He
I
he closed it
skimmed.
out. He
He
was
did.
the
He
one
closed it
more
out. Yeah, yeah. Oh
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was the one. Yeah, sorry. It was him. Yeah.
Which
Um, Yeah, very cool. Very good. Speaking of one more thing, Redfall. A lot of people have been thinking about this. Bethesda Softworks, I believe, trademarked this name a few years ago, and a lot of people were thinking that it was going to be like a codename secret Elder Scrolls 6 thing. And we got confirmation today
oh
that it is not actually going to be a code name for Elder Scrolls 6. It is actually its entirely own game from a Bethesda studio. And it was the classic one more thing. They're cribbing from Apple over here. Since they're not using it anymore, they decided to pull that one out. It looks super weird, and also super cool. Another Bethesda game that comes out with just a CG kind of trailer that doesn't really show too much. At least, I mean, at least with Starfield, it was an engine. This doesn't really seem to be.
it's so
What do you think?
crazy that
Yeah,
you I didn't think of this as a Bethesda game. Like I understand like
yeah,
it's an Arcane studio,
yeah,
so like it's
yeah.
Bethesda, but I guess I didn't even think about that. I guess so this was like an acquisition before it was ever even announced. So now it's like Xbox Game Studios.
It's pretty
But
wild. Yeah, Bethesda acquired Arcane, and then Microsoft acquired Bethesda. Now Microsoft owns Bethesda Arcane.
very
But yeah,
interesting.
it is interesting. Consolidation of corporate power. Yeah, it looks friggin' crazy. I think I'm still a little confused as to what's even there. But I feel like there's a lot of magic and like technology and some kind of distant future, or sorry, near future, I want to say.
Vampire
And
hunting, like
there's like vampire hunting, which
it
is pretty cool. Like
looks
the creepy demon women and vampires look very
they
cool
did look cool.
and terrifying.
It looks to me like some sort of like 4 player Left for Dead sort of thing. I don't know if that's what they were actually going for, but the trailer, that's kind of the vibe that I got.
Hmm.
Um, which, if that's the case, I'm not sure like how interested I am, but
But I mean, like that style might pull me over. That's not a game type I always play either,
true,
but that's very interesting. Like the
true. If it's
stylization
not
is
just
really,
zombies, yeah,
yeah, the vampires and just like I'm a sucker for like someone like sitting there and like flipping through a book with like telekinesis or something. That just grabs me.
the
And
humor was good. The humor was
humor
good. It
was
was
good.
subtle, but it was like it was funny. The
Hmm.
world just looks really cool. The characters looked
Characters look
really, yeah.
cool.
The characters
Yeah.
looked awesome. Their different varying powers and abilities were really
Yeah.
cool. Um, like there's not other than that, like there's not a whole lot to go on. I
Hmm.
thought it
The
was a
themes look
really
cool.
they do. I thought it was a really interesting choice for the one more thing. I was expecting the
Yeah.
one more thing to be Fable,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
which we didn't
And we have
see at
another,
all.
and like we didn't really plan to talk about it, but we have another like we had a total Fable tease like throw off with the Outer
Hmm.
Worlds 2
Yeah,
trailer, where they basically their entire teaser was meant to feel like it was going to be Fable,
that
with like
definitely
the
threw me
down to the
off.
announcer and the looks of it, and then all of a sudden they make a big gag about how it's Outer Worlds 2, and the only thing that they have is the title. So, not much to go on with that because they didn't give us anything. But I think the biggest thing to talk about with that was the fact that it was kind of a throw, to kind of tease people who were expecting Fable and didn't get it. So,
I think the
what?
biggest story with Redfall is that Xbox, like Microsoft, Phil Spencer, they all clearly believe in this game. If it's going to be your
Absolutely,
one more thing, they clearly think that it could be something special. So I think that's my
big
biggest
deal.
takeaway.
Yeah, big deal. The way that Phil Spencer was talking about it really made it feel like they expect something from this. So, which makes me feel like it's going to be more than a four-player kind of Left 4 Dead kind of game. But I don't think we know what it's going to be. So,
Yeah.
something to think about. In terms of games, we absolutely know exactly what they're going to be. Halo Infinite finally got some more gameplay, and we love to see it. I do. I'm not, I've kind of over the years gotten pretty tired of Halo, and I think a lot of people feel that way. But there are also the diehard fans and people who just want to be brought back into Halo, which is me as well.
That's me.
It looks awesome. I mean, the campaign looks better than what they showed. Everything looks better than what they showed before. They pushed back the release because everything looked kind of gunky. And it looks a little bit better now. We got some kind of story, some story mode stuff talking about Cortana going rampant, and we have a new AI also voiced by Jen Taylor, kind of like a new Cortana called the Weapon. It seems cool as someone who's only vaguely been following the story of like Halo 4, 5, that kind of thing. It seems like 343 is still kind of scared to make decisions that have lasting impacts on the franchise. I feel like Cortana has been going to die for like the last three games, and then it never happens. And then I feel like this one we were kind of expecting either she's gone entirely or she's going to be like the big bad, and then we're still kind of like maybe she's around. I don't know. Seems like they're not 100% sure of what they want to do with that, but Steve Downs still sounds awesome as the chief. I saw some people talking about how he sounds like, just because the actor's getting older, he sounds a bit more
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
grizzled and a little bit tougher. And obviously Spartan 117 isn't like that old in the grand scheme of being a Spartan, but it's cool to see that he's getting worn a bit. And I thought that was cool. What do you think, Matt? What are your thoughts on the Halo Infinite stuff we got?
Well, just like Starfield, the music in the trailer just like got me. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is some Halo ass music right here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just kind of down for like I haven't played a Halo campaign since 3, so
hmm
I just haven't been interested in the campaign since then. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I'm interested in like sort of a reboot of the whole Halo thing. Like
hmm
let's kind of just start fresh and go from there. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the free multiplayer.
Free
Um,
multiplayer, like let's talk about it. This is a big deal. It's not just a free battle royale mode or something like we see with Warzone or some other games. The whole multiplayer is totally free. That is wild. I don't know if we've seen any other games that have done that in my knowledge, where the single player was paid and the entire multiplayer was free. Can you think of anything? I think in those scenarios, I can only think of modes, like again, like a battle royale or like something
right.
like that is free, but I
Yeah,
can't think of a
I
game
can't
that's
think of
completely
an
separated multiplayer.
example like that. I want to say like I vaguely am remembering something, but I can't specifically remember what it would have been. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, I like their whole their idea of the battle pass that is
me too.
non-expiring. Um,
Oh, okay. So I actually haven't read that.
Yeah, so you'll always be able to go back and purchase old battle passes. If you're on a battle pass, you can just play it out to the end. It's not going to at some point just go away.
Oh, I
Um,
love
yeah,
that.
so
That
there's
is
so there's
huge.
no
As someone who
FOMO.
keeps like missing out on anything good in the Fortnite battle passes every time, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I think that's intriguing. And it's funny when I'm reading this, I'm thinking about like battle pass. I'm gonna have to pay for the game, then get the battle pass, and I'm like, oh yeah, the Halo multiplayer is free.
Multiplayer is free, so the only thing you're paying for is the battle pass, and it's just cosmetic. So you think about like a battle royale, the gameplay can get a little, like not stale, but a little bit. You're playing the same game mode over and over again. You might want cosmetics just to kind of spice things up. But when you think about something like Halo and having the entire multiplayer, all the different types of battles and all the different types of gameplays, I don't even know if I'm going to care that much about cosmetics. There's going to be so much going on. But I think enough people are that it's going to make it worth their while. Sorry, make it worth Microsoft's while. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just more fodder for Game Pass, right? I mean,
Right.
I find it unlikely that I'm going to, if I get really into playing multiplayer Halo, the likelihood that I'm going to not already have Game Pass or something, it's probably unlikely. So, it's basically all free in some way or another.
Right.
Like it's not free, but you know what I mean, included with your Xbox lifestyle. Um, and also to say too, I mean, it's interesting that this comes out right on the heels of Microsoft finally implementing, every free-to-play game no longer requires Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass Ultimate or anything like that to play. So they really are making it. You can buy an Xbox and just play Halo Infinite multiplayer zero cost, which is really cool.
Right.
Even on PC too, right? You can just download the multiplayer for free and
Yeah.
go for it, which is pretty amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that. The mechanics look awesome. The grappling looks really
That
cool.
does look cool. I
Yeah,
like
I'm excited to see more.
they're gonna have the overshield and that kind of stuff coming back, and in this case,
Mhm.
it's equipment that you can use when you want to. If you don't use it and you're killed, you drop it. So I think one of the things that they mentioned was that they wanted to keep the legacy of Halo but modernize the gameplay a little bit. So it looks like they're kind of that they're doing it right. I guess we'll have to wait
Yeah.
and see, but it looks good so far. I'm curious to see how much can they do with the battle pass to not make things ridiculous, because it's not like other games where like Fortnite where you're bringing in all these silly
Where you have
skins, right? Like how
Rick
much
and Morty
what
show
can you
up or
do
something.
with the
Yeah.
Spartan suit that like how much can you do before it starts to get a little bit silly? I'm not really sure.
Great question, honestly. And would that fit? What Halo, which is kind of a more casual arena shooter. I mean, it doesn't have to be casual, but it's a bit more. You drop in with your buds and play Halo. Less competitive, slightly. Is that the kind of space where we could get a little sillier? But again, what's the level for that, right?
True.
But it does feel a little less serious or something like Call of Duty or Battlefield or something like that. Speaking of Battlefield, we got some gameplay from Battlefield 2042, and I describe it myself as absolute goddamn chaos. I've never been so stressed watching gameplay from a game, and I say that as a positive thing because I think that's exactly what they want. What do you think, Matt? I had medium interest in this beforehand just because I don't usually get too into Battlefield. But good Lord, the I it was so insane that I feel like I just have to play it now.
Yeah, I mean, Dice is just embracing what Battlefield is.
Yeah,
Strapping C4 to an ATV and ghost riding it into a helicopter on the roof of a skyscraper. Like, this
it
is
feels like an insane, like this isn't what real war is like, obviously, but
right.
it does. It's so crazy that even in a video game, you feel like a sense of like I am exposed. Like I could die from literally anything from any direction, which I feel like is kind of like the war vibe. And so I think they do a great job with that. Look, watching it, I'm like, I can't imagine stepping 3 feet without dying.
Yeah, I mean, it just this is what Battlefield is, right? It's having a lot of fun with all the vehicles that they give you, these massive maps, and honestly, the environments that they showed in this gameplay just look huge. Now, I will say one thing that caught my eye was they do sort of look unfinished, but it said pre-alpha footage, so I'll give
Yeah.
them the benefit of the doubt there. But it looks like some like specifically the Middle Eastern map with the giant sand dunes. It just looked a little
Yeah.
unfinished. The textures looked a little bit rough, but I'm sure they'll get to that point. But it just looks like pure fun. Now the concern is, you know, it's a $70 game with no campaign, just multiplayer. How is that going to work after the Halo multiplayer?
I was gonna say, did you just see Halo
Yeah.
making free multiplayer, and then yeah, Dice
So
tries to
I'm a
pull
little
this.
bit worried, and it's kind of like a ballsy move from EA after they've had so much trouble with Battlefield. It's like, okay, now you're
Yeah,
you're coming out swinging your dick around like you're a big deal, but it's this is supposed to be a comeback story. So
It looks very fun, and I think they sold us that it's going to be really fun, and you get that feeling of like the 128 person, battles. You get that feeling from the trailer. This is going to be absolutely massive, and absolute. There's going to be so many people, and it's going to be like a worthwhile experience. But again, like you're saying, is it full price AAA game worthwhile? When again, there's a lot of fun multiplayer experiences out there that may not be this, but they also are free.
yeah, so I'm very very curious about that, but we'll see
Mhm.
where things go. But it looks fun.
Yeah.
It looks really fun.
Absolutely. In terms of visuals that definitely look finished, we got a reveal for Forza Horizon 5. I'm not going to say too much. I love, besides saying I love Forza Horizon games. I probably one of the games I have most hours in is Forza Horizon 2. I spent so much time playing that game. The other ones I have played since, but I really liked the setting in that in Europe. But yeah, that being said, this game takes place in Mexico, which I think is an amazing kind of biome to take place in. As a big fan of the American Southwest, kind of getting that feeling. Often I think it'd be cool to have like an America set Forza, and I think this really kind of gets that kind of North American feel, and it looks really amazing. And also we have giant areas that we haven't had before. We have stuff like the verticality of like the mountain. They mentioned the volcano
Yeah,
mountain
that
that you
was
go up, and
crazy.
they're saying it's the highest point in Forza, and it just looks absolutely bonkers. Even more, I feel like every time they make a new Forza Horizon game, it just looks more crazy than the one before it. And huge props because they're all amazing. What do you think, Matt? As someone I feel like who hasn't played as much Forza Horizon as I have.
Yeah, I don't think I've played since Forza Horizon 2, but it's fun. I like the games, and honestly, this one might get me back into it. It's the it has to be the prettiest game environment I've ever seen. I mean, it was
Gorgeous.
absolutely wild. Like I've never. I know they were talking about the what is it, the with the photorealism. What's the
Yes.
I forget the technology where it's like shoot, what's it called? Where they're basically like taking a photograph of real objects and transplanting it
Yeah,
onto.
I know what you mean. Sorry, I can't think of the name either, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it looks amazing. It almost looks like those Unreal 5
Yeah.
demos that you see.
And they're demoing it and it's playable, I mean, and as someone who's played the previous Forza Horizon games, especially 4, it really does feel like that when you're playing the game, and then seeing them take that to the next level with next gen technology. I believe it. I believe it will look just like that when you play it yourself.
I like the mode that they showed where players are making like their own game modes.
Yeah.
I was like, how soon are we gonna see Rocket League essentially
Yes.
within Forza
I
Horizon
saw
5?
someone saying like, when are we gonna make Super Mario? Someone making that exact like
Yeah,
side scroller in Forza
yeah.
Horizon. I think that's interesting. I'm less into that. I found that was something that actually for me took away from playing the newer entries in Forza Horizon. A lot of them were like built around making your own. You'd go to an area to do a race, and they kind of want you to like build your own race around that
Oh,
area. And I was
okay.
just like, I don't really care about that. I want you to tell me what to do so I can go broom and drive around.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people really love that, and I think more options are always good as long as we kind of make it streamlinable for the casuals like me. I think it's always good to have more options like that. So that's really cool.
I mean,
But
it looks
I'm really
good.
excited.
Um, it might get me back into some racing games. I wish it was with the DualSense controller on a
Yep,
PlayStation, but you know what?
I think that would be wild. Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll eventually get a Gran Turismo, which I won't play.
A
But you know what?
Gran Turismo, what would you call that? Sunset. I don't know.
There you go.
Trying to think of like a
GT Sunset.
Yeah, whatever they're gonna call it to make it a little bit more,
Perfect.
yeah, because I think both you and I are not interested in playing a hyper realistic racing game very much. But that's what's so great about Forza Horizon is they take those graphics, they take that gameplay of a realistic driving sim, and then they make it incredibly forgiving, and that is what it's all about to me.
Some days I just get that itch to play like the old school like Need for Speed Underground. Like I
Yeah,
just want to customize a car. I just want to
love
drive it
that.
around. Sometimes I just get that, and I might get that with Forza Horizon 5. We'll see.
I think it's possible. Speaking of nothing, I can't segue well because all I can think of right now is this Guardians of the Galaxy game from Square Enix. It was the only thing at the Square Enix event that I really think they knocked out of the park. That wasn't really a um, kind of Japanese RPG kind of game, and I have mixed feelings, but I will say, watching it, I think it did what it was supposed to do for me. I think I thought it was kind of funny. I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's stylized enough. What do you think, Matt? I know you're. I'll say like ahead of time. I'm a big MCU guy, and I've watched a lot of these movies. I'm not like a huge Guardians fan. I will say it's kind of one of the weaker points for me, especially the second one. But Matt, what do you think of this game?
Well, at the risk of being attacked by MCU fans, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is the last MCU movie that I really saw. Like when I ran what I don't remember which one, Infinity War, one of those.
Yeah, you watched Infinity War.
I just like randomly watched without context of like the five previous movies, but Guardians of the Galaxy was like the last one sequentially that I
Yeah.
saw. I just didn't love it. It's just not my thing. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but I do like the music and the comedy that they bring, and this game looks like it's gonna provide that. I did think it was weird that they, just like they did with Marvel's Avengers, they went with the off-brand look again.
So that's something I want to touch on because that's something I thought was kind of interesting. If you look up so this is actually written partly by Dan Abnett, who wrote the Guardians kind of comics that led to the movie team.
Mm,
So like because there's been a lot of Guardians iterations over the years, but the Guardians iteration we see in the movies is based on Dan Abnett's run on the comic,
okay.
and he's involved in writing this. And you can notice that a lot of the designs for these characters are actually closer to the comic versions of the design.
Okay.
So it's actually not quite off-brand Chris Pratt, so much as it's more comic accurate version of Star-Lord
I
in
gotcha.
some scenarios. So I think it's actually kind of cool. I think I would lean that way more. Some of them just happen to be more adapted closer for the movie. So stuff like Drax looks pretty similar to how he
Right.
looks in the movie, so it feels kind of like an off-brand Drax. But I think stuff like Gamora, Star-Lord, they look different enough and stylized enough that I think even if you didn't know that little tidbit, you could kind of almost feel like I think I could kind of feel like, oh, these look different enough. Like this is clearly meant to be a bit of a unique property from the movies.
Okay. I gotcha. I actually
Yeah,
I thought Gamora looked really cool.
I like
Um,
this. I like these designs a lot better in a lot of ways than I find the movie designs. I thought Gamora looked really cool. And
as
I
far,
thought Star Lord looked cool too. I think it's like a little bit generic blonde guy protagonist, but I mean that was the design. So
definitely his character definitely grew on me watching the trailer like as it went on. At first I'm like, oh,
yeah,
this is weird because it's the same outfit but it's not Chris Pratt.
yeah.
But then as it went on, he kind of like came into his own, which I thought was pretty
Yeah.
good.
And I think it
um,
makes sense for him to be kind of the more generic, bland character because he's kind of your proxy in the game.
true true
Whereas the other characters, you're really kind of interacting with them. I think it's you might, if anyone watched the gameplay, as if anyone watched, like anyone wasn't watching this, um, you interact, you make choices and form relationships with the other characters. You play just as Star-Lord. You control other characters during combat by telling them what to do. So it really is kind of your Star-Lord, and you have to kind of interact with your Guardians team. And I think that makes sense to people going like, "Whoa, generic Star-Lord," and it was kind of like, well, I think that makes sense to the kind of game they're making. That Star-Lord isn't like a very specific kind of character because you're Star-Lord and you have to kind of choose how you're going to be.
the amount of dialogue choices that they showed that could potentially completely change the scene was really interesting. It was
Yeah,
almost like Telltale-esque. It's like, are you really gonna make this happen, or is every scene gonna be like this? Like, because that's pretty impressive.
it was
Um,
cool.
I liked that. As far as the combat gameplay, looked a little janky to me. Um, but they've still got a little bit of time to work on it, I guess. But it did looked a little off.
I saw
But
some people saying it was almost like a kind of a remixed version of the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game, like almost like they just
okay,
kind of 3D'd it a bit more and they added like slightly more engaging combat, but still kind of feels like an upgraded Telltale game,
okay,
which I
interesting.
get. I can kind of see that.
Um, this is from the studio that made like the Deus Ex games. I believe. This is from Eidos
Okay.
Montreal. So,
Yes. Wow.
um, and I know those games are pretty loved. Like there was obviously no like immersive sim feel in this, so I don't.
No.
I'm curious to see what sort of like the Eidos Montreal fingerprint is going to be on this game. But I mean, it looked interesting enough. Like you, I think this was the most interesting thing from this showcase for me.
Yep.
I wasn't as interested in like Final Fantasy Origins and stuff. I would have loved to have seen some Final Fantasy 16, but I guess they're
Yeah.
not ready to show more. But um, yeah,
Some of the only other
potentially
stuff I
cool game.
saw. Yeah, some of the only other stuff I saw that just like brief touch on some of the Life is Strange stuff from Square Enix. I know that you played the original as
Oh
well as I
yeah,
did.
I forgot.
Um,
Totally
they
forgot.
did a they did a remaster. They're working on a remaster. I think it looks like nothing. I think I'm pretty disappointed. I think the things that were, I mean, I think a lot of the things that were janky about the original game are some of the beloved things anyway. How awkward and stilted some of it is kind of some of the fun and the cult enjoyment of it. But that being said, if they're going to do a remaster, fix the janky animation and fix some of the awkward movements and the awkward ways the eyes look around and things like that. And they really just, I feel, put a
Yeah,
coat of paint on a very janky game. In fact, in some ways, I think it's like anything. In some ways, I think the characters in their detail look worse than they did being slightly less detailed. I don't know. It's nice to get people to play the old game again, but
I loved the original. Um,
yeah, same.
I didn't play Before the Storm.
I played a bit of Before the Storm. I played a bit of two. Not a
Yeah, I
lot though.
didn't play two, but I did really enjoy the first one.
And the new True Colors info looks cool. I the new Life is Strange game looks really awesome. Again, I feel like it's really hard to match the feelings of the first one, but this seems like it might come closer. So, here's hoping. So that was interesting to me as someone who's not super into, um, JRPGs.
As
And
just a quick note before we move
yeah,
on, I just want to say that I think like Square Enix as a publisher is really interesting because they do
yeah,
have like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, but then they have Life is Strange
yeah, and the Guardians
and
of the
Guardians
Galaxy
of the
game.
Galaxy, and I think
Yeah,
they had Hitman, but Hitman's
yeah,
with Warner now, I believe,
yeah,
with IO Interactive,
yes, I
um,
believe. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure Square Enix published the first Hitman game. Um, but yeah, I mean, interesting publisher. And it,
And final amazing thing that I thought was just one of the most fun, lovely, unrelated to anything trying to get your money available, was the Sea of Thieves: A Pirate's Life DLC. I do just want to take a aside to say that I wish I talked about this before I talked about Forza Horizon, so I could have at the end as a segue said, "Bring me that Horizon." I didn't, and I regret this. But you get to hear it anyway. My failed joke. This is amazing. It's free story DLC. It is Pirates of the Caribbean. They have a fantastic, I think, voice impersonator for Captain Jack Sparrow
yeah,
and many of the other characters. Very good. And it just looks like a friggin' blast.
it does.
I know Matt, yeah, you and I and some of our other friends played a lot of Sea of Thieves last year, especially during the pandemic and the lockdown. We spent a lot of time playing Sea of Thieves.
Such a good game.
It's such a great game. I think I'd say hidden gem, but I mean, but I think it's true. I think there are a lot of people who really don't play it, especially people who've never really tried Game Pass. Sea of Thieves is
It's what sold us on Game Pass.
absolutely, and then we went and played a bunch more games, and I think even now, like I know it's become uh, cheaper in some scenarios. You can buy it on Steam, blah blah blah. I still like every time I think I want to play Sea of Thieves, I think, oh, let's get Game Pass back because it pulls me in. I'm like, might as well play all the other games too. But this looks unbelievably cool. I love that it's free. I love that it's just a tie-in to bring more content to Sea of Thieves, a game that could probably use a bit more story. And I think why not bring us the story that we all want, which is Pirates of the Caribbean story. And also new characters, new things. There's like weird monsters in the boat. I wrote down because I'm very excited. Evil mermaids. As far as I'm aware, since I last played Sea of Thieves, the only time there's mermaids are just the ones to like bring you back to your body when your ship capsizes. And it looks like you can get attacked by evil mermaids in the water. There was even a scene of like one of those giant gem holding mermaid statues like shooting out of the water. This looks pretty bomb. I'm really excited. Do you have anything to add to that, Matt?
Well, it's interesting because this is one of those crossovers where it felt so perfect of a match that that's why I thought it would never actually happen, because
Same.
it felt like with Sea of Thieves, Rare was just basically copying Pirates of the Caribbean in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
and it's
very
like,
much.
because they're doing that, we would never actually see a crossover because it's too
Hmm.
close.
Yep.
Turns out, I guess they're like, no, let's embrace it. Let's just go for it because
Yeah.
it works. And
The stylized characters, the stylized versions of the Pirates of the Caribbean characters look like just so perfect in Sea of Thieves.
they do, they
It's
do.
really cool.
I will say it's like a weird feeling that Pirates of the Caribbean is like now like in the Sea of Thieves universe. It just kind of feels weird that there's like a Disneyfication of it, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. But like you said, like I'm excited for some more story stuff, free story stuff.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, and it's coming out soon, July sometime.
Very soon. It's coming out. I think July. Am I crazy? Is it coming out like end of June, like June 23rd or something? I think it's something
Let's
like that
look.
actually.
Is it what's it called? Sea of
A
Thieves.
Pirate's Life.
Sea of Thieves. This is live research.
Live Googling. I think it's like June 22nd or something like that. I remember
June
being
22nd.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, which
So
is really incredible. So, it's
that's
like
a
give
week.
yourself a week or so after the show and you can play it, which is really, really cool, especially again for free content that is showing your favorite characters and probably the reason you even wanted to play Sea of Thieves in the first place. Half of what we do in Sea of Thieves is trying to mimic scenes from that one scene from Pirates of the Caribbean where the two boats come on the one side and it's it's a good time.
It just works.
Uh,
It just works, as
it
Todd would say.
just it's just fun. It's just fun. Yeah, really, I feel like they're taking a lot of Apple. It just works. One more thing. I feel like this is becoming the Microsoft conference. It's becoming the Apple conference. Also, I will say it's kind of cool to see them do a tie-in with Disney, just as a Microsoft property and something that's on Game Pass. It's kind of cool to see them get Disney involved with that and aware of Game Pass. It makes me wonder if we might see some more Disney kind of properties or something, maybe involved. I don't know, but it's interesting to see them make that deal with Disney. Not that everyone in the world isn't making deals with Disney since Disney owns all of the media,
Yeah,
but
I want to know more about this partnership. Like,
that's yeah. Like who talked to
it's
who?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's did Disney see like, okay, yeah, this game is basically Pirates of the Caribbean, so let's actually get involved with it,
Yeah.
or was Microsoft like, let's give it a shot? Maybe. I feel like it had to be Microsoft approaching Disney, but I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird in the sense that it just fits perfectly. I don't
And
know
it's
how else
weird
to
in the
say it.
sense that it's free. I mean, who's benefiting? What's the goal? What's the end game of this? Besides just like again, the partnership wise, it feels like there's like a good connection. Like maybe two execs were both like, hey, we both love each other's property, and why don't we just like collab? Because it really has that feel of being
Yeah.
free. Um, yeah. Anyway, super awesome. Just a really fun thing that's coming out soon because I know a lot of the stuff we're talking about is way far flung in the future. So it's nice to see some stuff that's coming out right now that you can play. You can get Game Pass and you can have an amazing time. And this, I wish, was sponsored by Microsoft, but alas, it is not. And I think that'll be it for the GG replay for Wednesday, June 16th. 2021. We are very excited to be back with you on Friday, where we will be hopefully talking about all of the great Nintendo news. Hopefully, there'll be something really exciting and interesting, some Metroid, or I don't know, something we're never expecting, Switch Pro, because that definitely exists and isn't just a rumor. All very exciting, and we will definitely see you on Friday for more wonderful GG replay with your Goodnight Groofs. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone.
Adios.